40A and other applicable laws. Tonight's hearing will be conducted in the following manner. The Secretary will read the legal notice or state that such notice has been waived. All applications will not be heard in the order tonight. I'm going to take a few very, very quick agenda items that were at the end, and we're just going to take those first. It's not going to take up much time at all. The petitioner or petitioner's representative will present the subject application to the board. What that means is, when it's your turn, either you or your contractor or your attorney will come up to this podium, press the button till the little red light comes on, and you will then tell us what you're here for. The chair may limit the length of all remarks. All parties in interest will be given an opportunity to speak in favor or opposition to a pending application, and the board may receive similar written communications to be placed on the public record. So, you'll come up here, state your name and address for the record, tell us why you're here, and we will ask you some questions. Then we will ask if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak in favor. If you have somebody here, they will come up, say their name and address for the record, and they will tell us what a wonderful neighbor you are and how pleased they are that you're going to add on to your house and whatever it is. Then we will hear people in opposition. Once again, you come up to the podium, say your name and address for the record, and then you can tell us why you're opposed. However, you are here listening to somebody that wants to add a deck or a garage or an addition, and they need a little dimensional relief. What is dimensional relief? Well, there's so much footage that has to be from your property line to theirs, and they might need a foot or two or three, or who knows. And you tell us why you're opposed to that. What we don't want is to hear how lousy a neighbor you are, or how loud your dogs bark, or you get up too early in the morning and start your car. We're not here for that. I know it's interesting information, but it's not the proper place to hear it. The other thing I'd like to say is the best variances we hear are the ones that you, whatever you want, have already gone to your neighbors and explained to them what you want, and you discuss it, and they're all in favor, and everything is fine. That doesn't happen all the time, but you get what I'm trying to say. Okay, the other thing is, once you come up to the podium and speak, if you forget something, that's fine. You can come back up. What I really would ask is that you don't shout, and it happens every time. Please don't shout anything out from your seat. It's inappropriate, it's not proper, and it doesn't serve any purpose because you have to come up here and speak anyway. If in fact, and I don't think it's happening tonight, we have 15 people that want to speak, say in opposition, and the first 10 have said what they have to say, and the next 5 want to repeat it, you could just come up to the podium, state your name and address, and say, I agree with my neighbors. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, but for anybody listening, that's the way we roll. So, at that point, if there was any opposition, you or your attorney or your contractor can come up to the podium and try to explain or try to figure out, try to discuss the problems or not. And then we might ask you some more questions, and at that time, we vote. Now, I'm going to state the obvious here. Not everything can be approved, because if everything was approved, there would be no need for the Zoning Board of Appeals, and there would be no need for zoning laws. So we do have those laws, and we have the job of enforcing those laws to the best of our ability and to be very fair. And I'm here to say without a shadow of a doubt that this board is extremely fair, and we really try to work with you. You might not be happy about it, but once again, That's the way it has to be. So, then we have a decision. Yes, you got approved, or I'm sorry, you got denied. At that point, the decision will be typed and filed with the city clerk. Once the decision is filed, there is a 20-day appeal period. You can't do anything for 20 days if you were approved. Our illustrious assistant, Ms. McGrath, will contact you the day after and explain anything you ever wanted to know about an appeal period, 20 days, yes, you were approved, no, you weren't, whatever. She's like the zoning board Bible, right there. In compliance with the open meeting law, this hearing is also being recorded by our clerk. Please speak directly into the microphone clearly and only speak at the podium to ensure you are on the record. So I think that's it. Now, the first thing I'm going to read is we have a letter from the, in regards to the 40B development of 40 Oak Street. I'm going to read this, but before I do, I need to tell you that the city and the zoning board, we're all ready to hear this and move forward. However, there are some discrepancies with the decision and some things that have to be clarified and done perfectly on the applicant's side. So, the office is legal counsel to 40 Oak Street Development LLC. The applicant, with respect to the above referenced proposed development of the property located at 40 Oak Street, Peabody, Mass., under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40B. It is my understanding that the board has scheduled a remand hearing with respect to this matter for this evening, May 16th. However, Attorney Jesse Schomer is writing, I write on behalf of the applicant to request that this said hearing be continued to June 6th at 7 p.m. I can't say for sure, but I can say just about for sure, June 6th, we will hear 40 Oak Street. We will hear what is going on with that, and we'll take a vote. It is not going to be heard tonight. The applicant is it's just not ready. So if anybody is here for 40 Oak, please come back June 6th. That's the first thing. No? Oh, motion, I need a motion to continue.
Motion to continue to June 6th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will hear that June 6th. All right, now I need to go to, I need to accept, I need a motion to accept from April 18th, 2022, Attorney John R. Kelty's memo requesting a variance extension for 84 Ellsworth. But I need to know, Attorney Kelty, when you want that to be heard, at what point? No? Oh. You read the letter into the record. Okay. Do you want? We'll have the secretary read the letter.
So entering into the record is a letter dated April 18th, 2022 from John R. Kelty, Counselor at Law. This is in regards to variance dated May 18th, 2021 at 84 Ellsworth Road in Peabody, Massachusetts. The letter reads as follows. Dear Ms. McGrath, please accept this letter as a request to extend the variance granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals for a period of 6 months. Thank you in advance for your anticipated approval of this extension. Signed by John Kelty.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Great.
We're going to grant the extension. We need to vote to grant the extension.
We just motioned to extend it, to accept. Now we need a motion to accept the memo from Attorney Panos dated May 4th. the extension for 39 Wallace Street to June 6th meeting.
We'll make a motion to accept the correspondence and move that to the June 6th meeting.
Favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Great. While we're at it, why don't we just have a motion to accept the meeting minutes from March 21st?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any opposed? All in favor? All set. Great. Now let's get down to business. Number 1 is a continued application of Paul Dusablon for a variance, 30 Glen Drive. We do not have to read this into the record because it's continued, but Mr. Dusablon knows what to do.
Hello. I was here in March where I was denied for a pool house because it was too big. Board gave a recommendation of size. I went down to that size and I passed the paperwork on the collar, and I'm hoping it can be approved because it's where you wanted it.
So you started off at 240 square feet, and now you went...
I started
mean,
at 320.
At 320, and now you went down to 240.
Correct.
So you went down significantly.
Yes.
Still not happy. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I went by your measurements.
Questions by the board? Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? In opposition, hearing none, the matter is before the board.
Motion to close the public hearing. Motion to approve.
Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, you're all set. You're approved.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Number 2 is a continued application for 229 Andover Street. It is? Okay.
Item number 2 on tonight's agenda is a continued application of CEA 114 Fee LLC for a variance from the provisions of the zoning ordinance 2020 as amended, section 11.5.2, as it applies to the premise known as 229 Andover Street in Peabody, Massachusetts, lot 039-027. Petitioner seeks a variance for a wall sign in a BR zoning district, requires relief to wall sign size where 75 square feet is allowed and 115.71 square feet is proposed. The property is located in a BR zoning district.
Hi, good evening. My name is Brandon Currier. I'm from Barlow Signs, here representing Peabody Pediatrics at 229 Andover Street. I'm accompanied by Dr. Elaine Asanaki over here. She's been a member of this community, has another location for the past 5 years here. So as read into the record, we're here this evening seeking relief under section 11.5.2 to have 115.71 square feet where 75 is allowed. This is a very unique location due to the setback on the road, which is separated by a parking lot with lush vegetation. The signage we're proposing this evening is within scale of the facade and fits within the character of neighboring businesses in the plaza and other businesses in the area. Having signage this size would increase the visibility on the busy 40-mile-an-hour multi-lane road, which would reduce the time that each motorist would have to take their eyes off the roadway to safely identify their destination, as well as future potential location for dentistry work. This would be no negative effects to the surrounding neighbors in the community, Having signage smaller than that, than what we're proposing, could endanger the wayfinding public trying to identify and navigate to this location as mentioned. Ordinance for the wall sign does not speak to a unique location like this with a setback with sightline interruptions. So in comparison, a business with a similar frontage that's closer to the road will be in a much more successful position with that 75 square foot cap, as the visibility for pedestrians and motorists would be much greater. So in conclusion, we're seeking for an additional 40.7 square foot overall for the allowable increase to visibility and ensure the wayfinding public a safe identification path to their location. Thank you.
I just have one question. Is it going to be lit?
Yes, it'll be internal illumination.
So is that lit all 24 hours a day?
It doesn't have to be lit 24 hours a day. It can be set on a time clock. Typically what we do, I mean, obviously we'll respect whatever the ordinance says, but typically it would be after the business has closed down. If it's a later, something like this. I don't know about what hours, do you know what the hours of this location would be right off the top of your head? Okay, so the location, this location will be 9 to 5. So within respect to trying to capture motorists, we'd like to have it, at least into the evening sometime, maybe like 8, 9, 10, depending on what you guys have for recommendations. I mean, we're open for that.
What time does Walgreens close? 10?
We could look it up real quick. Sorry, I didn't have that information.
How about 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.?
That'll work. Is that okay with you?
So that'll be a
Perfect.
condition. Any questions by the board? Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? Excuse me, in opposition? Hearing none, the matter.
Motion to close the public hearing. Motion to approve with the condition that the sign will only be lit between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, you've been approved. Good luck.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. You guys
Yep.
have a great evening.
Thank you. Number 3, we have 38 Dexter Street.
Item number 3 is an application of Donald and Melissa Couture for a variance from the provisions of the zoning ordinance 2020 as amended, section 7.2, as it applies to the premise known as 38 Dexter Street in Peabody, Mass., lot 108-019. Petitioner seeks a variance for an open deck and requires relief to side yard where 15 feet is required and 9.3 feet is proposed. The property is located in an R1A zoning district.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Couture. I am the homeowner, as well as my husband, Don Couture, for 38 Dexter Street. Oh, okay. So what we want to do is we want to add a deck to the existing structure at the back of our house that will not exceed past the 10 feet width of the structure. And we would like to tuck the stairs to go onto the deck into the same frame to not extend outside the 10 feet. I have pictures, but I don't know if you...
I think you say the deck will be contained completely behind the footprint of our house.
Yes.
Nothing will stick out closer to the fence than our house already does.
Yes. And the reason for that is it is a tight area, and we need to be able to get equipment in and out. And we also have a double gate there.
It's only 9 feet already.
Yeah, it's not. It's already 9.3. Yeah. So we don't want to skirt into that anymore.
Questions by the board?
Question for you. Has any of this construction started yet?
No.
No.
We do have a contractor.
Len Ghibli.
And that brings up a wonderful point. I know this is very hard to believe, but many, many times, people come up here and they ask for a variance after they have already started building. Absolutely do not do that. Please do not do that. If you want to build, you come to the building department, you get a building permit. If you need a variance, you come see us. If you have to wait a couple of weeks, oh well. But please never, never build without a building permit, and if you need a variance, please don't come after the fact. That being said, are there any other questions? Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? In opposition? Matter is before the board.
Motion to close the public hearing. Motion to approve.
Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, you have been approved.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. See, that wasn't hard, was it? Number 4, 210 Andover Street, urgent care.
Number 4 on the agenda tonight is an application of Mall at North Shore LLC, Convenient MD Urgent Care for a variance from provisions of Zoning Ordinance 2020 as amended, Section 11.5, as it applies to the premise known as 210 Andover Street in Peabody, Massachusetts. Petitioner seeks a variance to erect 3 wall signs, an additional freestanding sign for an urgent care facility, and requires relief to a number of freestanding signs where 1 is allowed, and an additional 2 are proposed. Number of wall signs where 2 are allowed and 3 are proposed. Wall sign size where 75 square feet is allowed and 131.3 square feet is proposed. The property is located in a BR zoning district.
Thank you. My name is David Ankleys. I practice law at 246 Andover Street, Peabody, Massachusetts, and I'm here representing the applicant, Petitioner, Convenient MD, and with me tonight from Convenient MD is... I'm sorry. I should be the one to speak loud. I apologize. With me tonight from Convenient MD is David Sanderson. By way of introduction, Convenient MD has been in business now for well over 10 years. It has 32 locations throughout New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts, and they pride themselves as becoming involved with the local community. This particular use was approved by the City Council pursuant to an application for a special permit approximately a month ago. It was also the subject of site plan review and modification of the existing site plan for development of North Shore Mall, and was approved by the planning board perhaps I'd say 2 to 3 months ago. The subject property is located on the northerly side of the North Shore Mall, facing Route 114 at the easterly set of traffic lights across from the new storage facility under construction. It sits in the shadow of the Lifetime Fitness building. The building will be set back approximately 50 feet from Route 114 and is bordered to the rear by an interior roadway in the Lifetime Fitness building. The secondary entrance roadway is on the east, and on the left is Chase Bank. On the left, and on Chase Bank is on the west and right. It is a very, very busy area. The only access to this particular building is from the interior roadway to the rear. The access is somewhat difficult, and it creates a hardship for the petitioner. As you know, Convenient MD is a medical facility. And because the use of the facility frequently involves trauma and people in distress and other issues requiring immediate attention, it is very important that the site be quickly identified as a medical facility and be accessed easily and as soon as possible. The mall, which has only one street address, and Route 114 can be a bit confusing at times, and because access here is limited to the interior roadway located to the rear of the building. The signage requested along 114 at the front of the building, and the building sign on the left side facing the secondary entrance to the mall, and the sign facing Chase all become very important, as does the small, very directional sign to the rear, which is the only access to the building's parking area. We can change the roadway layout, but we do think the requested additional signage is a good common sense solution and approach which helps us to mitigate the address, the hardship, and the safety issues. The signs enable immediate identification of the building and promote quick access to the care being sought when people are in distress. And I might note, because of the question that was asked from the previous application as to the hours, we are in operation from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and could certainly condition any approval based on the same restriction. Thank you.
So it's internal lighting?
Correct.
I just want to clear something up. So people that live in Peabody and frequent the mall, so you have the Container Store, you have Chase, and now you're going to have the urgent care, which is great. I think it's great. But you said it's in the shadow of Lifetime. It's really not in the shadow of Lifetime. Just my opinion. I think this is it will be a great addition. You know, many people are using urgent cares now. And I do understand from 114 it needs the visibility. So any questions or comments by the board? Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? In opposition, matter is now before the board.
Motion to close the public hearing. Motion to approve with the condition that the sign will only be lit from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Second.
8 a.m. to 8 p.m. the light.
Could we just keep that, could we extend that to at least 9 p.m.?
Okay, so wait. Yes, we can. Yes, we can, Attorney Angeles, but you just said we'd be okay with 8 to 8.
No,
Now
I
we said 8 to
said-
8, and now you want to change it.
I think I said the same restriction, which was 8 to 10.
No, you didn't.
Madam Chairman, well, forgive me if I misspoke, but we'd like to be able to go from 8 to 10 if that's at all possible. If not,
8 to 10 now. 8 to 10 now. Are
Correct.
you sure it's 8 to 10? You don't want it to midnight?
depends
ahead.
upon what goes on.
So I'll remake the motion to approve with the condition that it'll operate. The sign will be lit between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Are approved, yes.
Thank you, Madam.
Number 5, 3 Forbes Way.
Number 5 on the agenda is an application of Gary and Kim Quintal for a variance from the provisions of zoning ordinance 2020 as amended, section 7.2, as it applies to the premise known as 3 Forbes Way, Peabody, Massachusetts, lot 026-055C. Petitioner seeks a variance to build a 4 by 16.8 foot addition that requires relief to left side yard where 20 is required and 18 is proposed. The property is located in an R1 zoning district.
Good evening. My name is Gary Quintal. I live at 3 Forbes Way. I am the homeowner. Okay. I am the homeowner along with my wife, Kim. And we have applied for a variance to expand the footprint of a current screen house as stated by adding 4 feet by 16.8 feet. In doing that, looking at the short dimension of 4 feet, that would extend to 18 feet, on the setback, which is compared to the 20-foot requirement. It should be noted that currently, the current footprint is 19 feet. According to the survey we had done, I'm not sure why it ended up that way, but that was by a previous owner. So, in effect, we're asking for an additional foot of relief. And finally, I did speak during the design or planning stage with the abutter that's most affected, and he had no issues with it. So,
Questions, comments? Audience, anybody to speak in favor? Anybody to speak in opposition? You may come up, name and address for the record.
Sure.
I'm Christine Carroll, and I live at 22 Goodale Street, the road adjacent to Forbes Way. And I'm opposed to any more encroachment on neighbors in this area. It's been a routine in this neighborhood. It's happened in the past. And it happened to me illegally, and I just want to preserve the rules and regulations. The houses there are very large already. The houses there are already very large, the land is large. I don't think an additional variance is needed, and falling within the rules, I think it should be a fine addition. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you go tell your name and address for the record sheet? Carla didn't hear it.
Christine Carroll, 22 Goodale Street. I've been there for 71 years.
Could the petitioner please come back up? I'm very familiar with this area, very familiar with your house. Where you're putting the addition, is there a neighbor back there?
Yes, as I said, the abutter most affected is along that property line that would, have to get the...
Is that neighbor on Wildwood?
No, so we're at the, sort of the bottom of the circle.
The end,
right?
yes.
And then if you're facing our property, that house immediately to the left.
Oh, to the left,
Right.
okay. All right, anybody else to speak? Questions by the board? Matter is before the board.
Motion to close the public hearing. Motion to approve.
Roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you have been approved.
Thank you very much.
Number 6, One Lone Pine.
Number 6 on the agenda is an application of Danae and Michael Cardello for a variance from the provisions of zoning ordinance 2020 as amended, sections 7.2, as it applies to the premise known as One Lone Pine Lane, Peabody, Mass. Lot 014-119. Petitioner seeks a variance for a Fala addition and requires relief to right side yard where 20 is required and 13.3 is proposed. Property is located in an R1 zoning district.
Hi, my name is Brian Sereng. I reside at 24 Hudson Street, Woburn, Mass. I'm here with Mrs. Cardello now. She's looking to put a Fowler apartment in for her mother who has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and she just wants to be a caregiver there at the house to make life a little easier. Right now, the plans are showing 13.3 instead of 20 feet.
I do notice that you kept it within the 700 square
Yes.
feet. It doesn't look like there really is any other place to put it.
That's the problem.
Any other questions, comments? Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? Anybody in the audience to oppose? In favor or opposition? Let's hear it.
Hi, my name is Richard Joyner. I live at 761 Lowell Street. My backyard abuts the side property of the Cardellos. Even though it's like 13 and a half feet from the lot line, my house is set back far enough where it wouldn't be on top of their property. There's plenty of distance between the houses. And I'm probably affected the most out of any neighbor, and I have no problem with that at all. I'm for it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just, I know you know this, but you know, fathers have to be always a family member. Yes. You do know that. Okay, anybody else? Matter is before the board.
Motion to close the public hearing. Motion to approve.
Roll call vote. Oh, second. Roll
Second.
call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, you have been approved. Thank you. Number 7, 7 Dartmouth Street.
Number 7 on the agenda is an application of Amy Turcott for a variance from the provisions of zoning ordinance 2020 as amended, section 7.2, as it applies to the premise known as 7 Dartmouth Street, Peabody, Massachusetts, lot 049-058. Petitioner seeks a variance to connect the deck to the pool and requires relief to rear yard setback where 35 feet is required and 21 feet is proposed. The property is located in an R1B zoning district.
Good evening. My name is Amy Michoni Turcott. I'm here with my husband. We are the homeowners at 7 Dartmouth Street. We decided we needed to update our existing deck, and during that time frame, we realized that it might be prudent to add on a deck for the pool for living space, since I'm working from home and the children are home. I've checked in with my neighbors. Our neighbor to the right of us got a variance. He had 16 feet. We are requesting 21 feet. The back, there is a fence on the property line that exists currently. So we are 3 houses, and our 2 neighbors have the exact same setup. And we've spoken to our neighbors on both sides, and they were going to actually sign a letter for me tonight, but I didn't know if it was necessary. But she said I could call her at work if I wanted to. So.
Questions?
Question, yes. I was by the property. I noticed the new deck that had been started.
That's the existing that we got the
Has
approval
anything
for.
been done after that footprint?
Nope.
So the new deck is under construction, the redoing of the old deck.
We have a permit to redo the old deck.
And then we decided we wanted to make sure.
We wanted to apply for the second permit. That's when we were told we needed a variance.
Very good, thank you.
We didn't want to get in trouble.
That's right. Any other questions, comments? Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? In opposition? Matter is before the board.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 You have been approved.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Oh, the fun begins. We are now going to hear 2 presentations on the next 2 40Bs that are before the zoning board for the city of Peabody. I would like to start by saying we are going to hear these 2 presentations. One is 128 Newberry Street, and one is 58 Pulaski, the Mills Building. I also need to state at this point in time that the city is still under safe harbor. And we are going to listen to the presentations. However, the zoning board has 15 days to decide whether we will invoke safe harbor on one, on both, or on neither. And that has to be done within 15 days. I do have and need a motion to accept the correspondence from May 5th, 2022 from the Department of Housing, that email that confirms we are now at 10.42% of our housing inventory. In order to claim safe harbor, which means, for those of you that don't know, it means that we don't have to hear a 40B application. We have to be above the threshold of 10%, which we are, and we need our housing production plan to still be in effect, which it is. So I just would like that to be made very clear that we are in safe harbor, and this board will hear the presentations and then make a educated decision on whether we shall move forward or not. With that being said,
Move to accept the correspondence.
Second.
all in favor? Okay. Now, just a little bit about how this works. We will hear 128 Newbury Street first, and that opens up the hearing. We'll hear the presentation, but we will not hear from anybody in the audience. Tonight is just presentation and scheduling of who we're going to hear from in the subsequent months. So if you're here as a neighbor, as an interested party, and you thought you could speak tonight, this isn't the night. However, if this moves forward, if either of them move forward, June 6th, and every month after that, even if the city officials, we say it's a city official night, or it's a traffic night, or it's a water and sewage night, applicants will always have the opportunity to speak every single month after this evening. So, Jack, would you like to, Attorney Kelty, would you like to go over the next couple of months as to the scheduling part? Or do you want to do that after you present?
I think our preference would be to present and then discuss dates.
Okay. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
All set? My name is John Kelty, and I'm an attorney. I practice law at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, Massachusetts. And I'm appearing on behalf of Trammell Crow and one of its entities. They are a very large multi-purposed development company that has developed properties all over the nation. Tonight we are pleased to present what is a pared down, originally 300-unit apartment complex at 128 rear Newbury Street. And since the city gained the ability to be in safe harbor, we have worked hard at being a good neighbor and have reached out to our neighbors and have had between meetings with neighbors and public officials and engineers and city engineers, we have actually had the opportunity to have some 50 public and private and open and various degrees of meetings. With me this evening are Andy Hantoon, James Ward, Mark Baranski, Ari Bobby, and Mr. Mark Baranski, who has had most of the meetings with our immediate neighbors on Cardigan Drive. Mark would like to take the podium and explain more detail the project and our meetings with our neighbors. With that, Mark.
Thank you. Good evening. Mark Baranski, Trammell Crow Residential, 2276 Washington Street, Newton Lower Falls. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. What we'd like to do is we have a deck, which we'll put on the screen shortly, and then we also have hard copies that we can share with you as well. We'd like to give you an overview of the process. We've worked on this site for pre-COVID for about 2.5 years. It's been a very, very fruitful back and forth with the city and with our neighbors and abutters, and it's really made for a better project. But I will just wait till we get on the screen. I'll start walking you through it.
We're having technical difficulties. We will take a short 5-minute recess.
There we go.
We're going to read the legal ad into the record at this point.
So legal notice for this piece is notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals of the City of Peabody will hold a public hearing Monday, May 16th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Massachusetts, on the application of Maple Multifamily Land SE LP for a Chapter 40B comprehensive permit as it applies to premise known as 128 Newbury Street, Peabody, map 057, lot 074, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, and V. Petitioner seeks to construct 220 rental units. The property is located in a BR1 and R1 zoning districts. The application and plan are available to the public and can be viewed by contacting Ms. Carla McGrath at carla.mcgrath@peabody-mass.gov or by contacting by phone 978-538-5792 in advance and prior to the public hearing. The agenda for this meeting is posted on the City of Peabody website.
Thank you. Just for some context for those that are not familiar with the site, as noted, it's 128 R Newbury Street. The bulk of the site is noted in the yellow hash in the back, which abuts Huntington Woods and Cardigan Street. There is an easement that would be shared by parties, which runs from the land out to Route 1, more or less in between Green Tea and the Honeydew lots. Again, this is another view of the site. This site was, so our understanding was about 15 plus years ago, was a heavily wooded and close to virgin site. Prior owner denuded the site. That has unfortunately created considerable harm to some of the abutters. There's just an awful lot of runoff, which some of the abutters have had to contend to. It's been fairly unfortunate. As you'll note in the right side panel, we have an after view of the site. Although we do not own those areas that are green, representing grass, we do have certain rights to knock down structures and to put grass down, subject to certain agreements with those parties. So our intention is that this site will either be developed by those parties or that we'll have the right to beautify it and in concert with our site, make that whole area look considerably better than it does right now. Again, some views of the billiard hall, view from the billiard hall, which will be removed, and then of the development from that same vantage point. Highlights of this site As was mentioned, 220 units. We initially had a conversation with the city, and I'll get into that in a bit, which had considerably more units. We've met with pretty much everyone that we could or can meet with numerous times to understand how this site has adversely impacted them, how we can make it better, and to make sure that what we're designing works for them as well as for the city. The design now features 220 units with 25% affordable at 80 AMI, and it's a mix of everything from studios to 3 bedrooms. This is just another view of the site over the pool courtyard area. Another view. The benefits to the site, as I mentioned, the initial incarnation of this project was a 300-unit development. Based on feedback from neighbors and from the city, it became 240 and now is at 220 units, and that's what we're proposing. So broadly speaking, from our initial proposal for density and lot coverage, we've gone down considerably. We created a green buffer area. There's some topography differentials between what I'd call the table of our site and the Cardigan abutters. And it was very important for the Cardigan abutters, as well as residents on Winona, that we create a barrier that was maintained, was green, and provided sight and view line buffers as well as sound buffers. And so we've moved the site, and I'll show you in a couple slides. We moved our massing further away than initially proposed from the Cardigan and Winona Street vantage points. And what we've committed to is maintaining this buffer. As a matter of fact, last week I was meeting with residents of Cardigan Street, going through the fine details of fencing and plantings that we'll be supplementing with the existing greenery in the area. I'm trying to see. I hope others can see better than I can. One early issue at our public presentation some time back was we had envisioned using Winona perhaps as an access point, or at the very least as a life safety access point. The feedback we received from the fire department is it's not necessary. The neighbors made it very clear that they didn't want that to occur, so we eliminated that from our program. So the sole ingress egress for this site is via the easement off of Route 1. Thank you.
Here, help your eyes.
Thanks. Yeah. Stormwater, which we'll show you some information on in a moment. As you can imagine, with a site that's been entirely denuded, the water has nowhere to go. It runs pretty much down onto all the neighbors' properties. Some in particular have been very, very adversely impacted by this. As will be required by the Commonwealth, all water that will be received on our site has to be managed. So we know that we're going to make some considerable improvements to the lives and the backyards of some of our neighbors just through the management of the stormwater, which is not being done as of now. There are, as I mentioned, some rights that we have. Some are use rights, so some of our neighbors on the abutting parcels will be uses that are probably more desirable to the neighbors and our residents than they might otherwise be. We have the right, as I mentioned, to landscape and green those areas. The front parcels. We have the right to remove the pool hall if it is not rehabbed or knocked down by another party. And there is a large retention pond, which I can show you in view right there, in sort of the top middle, which will ultimately be addressed. It'll be infilled, it'll be Coltech basins to manage that water, and that'll be eliminated. So again, this was kind of the earliest incarnation of the project. Our vision of it: 3 separate structures, 300 units, 5-story structures. As I mentioned, based on feedback from neighbors and the city, we amended that to this. This actually represents 2 of the incarnations. We combined 2 of the buildings, the 2 northernmost buildings, into 1 building. But as you can maybe see, maybe not, because it is a bit far away, those structures were still relatively close to the Cardigan lots. So we moved those back. And then we noted what we're calling our green buffer. So we've gone to great lengths to make sure that this is a project that's complementary to the neighborhood and to the city and is not detracting to our neighbors on Winona or Cardigan. And this is a civil engineering and stormwater design. For reference, we do have members of our design and engineering teams available if you'd like to get in granular conversation. I'm going to just probably keep it at 30,000 feet. This is roughly the locations of some of those basins that will manage the water. There probably will be one above ground retention basin in, I guess, what I would refer to as the park area on Winona Street. So that land now that we thought we'd need for life safety access, we're just going to green that up and try and make that amenity for the general area. These are the Coltec style basins that will be part of the stormwater management program. And here are some of the discharge calculations which have been shared in the documents you've received. As I said, we have our professionals available if you'd like to speak in greater detail on that. We've also worked with the prior and current city councilors and the neighbors to work through ingress and egress issues that will give all residents comfort that the traffic is being properly managed. I apologize, our traffic engineer is not available, but we know that this is something that you'll probably have questions about, and we'll have him available along with the traffic reports to dig into greater detail. And again, from this distance, it's probably hard to see, but we've utilized some centerline delineator rods and some raised curbs to make sure that traffic leaving our site is going to Route 1 and is not cutting through the honeydew lots, as it were, which was an important issue for the residents and the butters. Further, the way that the islands are structured is such that people using the honeydew drive-through will certainly still be able to do that. They have that right, but our residents won't really be able to cut across. So we kind of solved this solution with feedback, as I said, from the city and from the neighbors in a series of brainstorming sessions. I don't have a slide specific to landscape. Effectively, what we've done is we've committed to a couple things. We'll be doing a series of fences, one proximate to the lot line, and the purpose of that is really to create a view buffer for the Cardigan residents so that they're not looking up at the building and the building isn't looking down on them. There'll be a second series of fences that will be used at some of the retaining walls. There's some topography differentials between the site, and we're using garages and fencing to make sure that there's no light bleed from cars pulling in onto those homes. It's worth noting, and I think I overlooked it in a prior slide, other feedback from the Cardigan residents and to some extent Winona residents was that they wanted to make sure that there were no balconies overlooking their homes. And so all our most west-facing balconies, and I guess I'd say those sort of the two prongs, none of those faces have balconies in respect and deference to the requests of the neighbors. Our last slide is just a summary of some of the economic benefits to the city of Peabody. I understand, as the Madam Chair has mentioned, that the city is now over the SHI threshold. This project would certainly ensure that, subject to subsequent census verifications, that it would stay over that 10% threshold. And there are certainly economic benefits that are derived by this project for the city as well. And so with that, I am available for any questions that the board may have. And as I mentioned, our council and our consultants and engineers are available as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go any further,
Could I just add three things?
Absolutely.
Three short things. One of the measures that we took in meeting with our neighbors, in particular on Cardigan, was to do a shadow study, and we were able to demonstrate where shadows would fall, and that was one of the, when we learned where shadows from these buildings would fall, we lowered the height, reduced number of units, and pulled the units themselves back an additional 30 feet. We also have entered into a peer review contract with the city of Peabody. Those materials have, I believe, been forwarded through Mr. Langley to our peer reviewers, and we expect at whatever time to have those back. There will be 4 peer review studies. One of the issues that had arisen at one of the meetings was where would our bus stop be? And I've reached out to the school department, transportation department, in the person of, I believe it's Lisa Connors, and am awaiting a call. I did have the opportunity to look at currently utilized bus routes. I believe that the elementary school children are picked up from one of the mobile home parks that is north of us, and that bus, I believe, stays on Route 1, so that we would be able to utilize our driveway to pick up any children that needed bus transportation. Or in the alternative, I do note that there are routes that come from Route 1 and then go down Winona. And we have that arm that sticks out if there was any need or any interest on the, from the school department. We have the capacity to put a stop, even with a shelter, on Winona, should that be what the board and the school department would recommend at the end. So those were the things I wanted to add.
Thank you. Before we schedule meetings, I would like to accept correspondences in relation to this. I need a motion, and I will read them all, and I need a motion to accept all of them. 10/14/21, a Talarico memo from the building department. 10/12/21, Simoes memo from the light plant. 10/28/21, submitted for 26/22 drainage report. 4/29/22, Langley memo, DPW. 5/2/22, Del Nigro memo with determination of applicability, Concom. And 5/3/22, Ipswich River Watershed Association memo. May I have a motion to accept?
I'll move to accept all the correspondence.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So because this is an evening where we are hearing 2 40Bs, which is unusual, at this point in time, we will try to schedule who's going to speak next month. So we won't comment. I encourage the board, I know you've already gone up there, but I encourage you to go up one more time and take a good look at this. You already mentioned Bob Langley, Attorney Kelty, so you know that he is the peer review person to go to in the city. Our next meeting is June 6th. At that point, any and all city officials are welcome to speak. Any and all abutters. Obviously, we will have questions. I don't know if you'll have any peer review information to share. At that point, you can.
Nor do I, and I think if there is, we'll certainly do that, and if we don't have any for the 6th, then we wait until...
Then the next meeting is July 18th, and once again, we'll just continue on, whether it's traffic, water, sewer, storm water, whatever is available from the city side and your side, we'll just continue, and once again, abutters can speak from June 6th on. And city officials, obviously, also. So it would be June 6th, July 18th, and August 15th are the next 3 dates where we will hear whatever we have to hear and question and hash out this 40B project. August 15th. Okay, that's all right. So, that being said, this was very informative. We have everything we need to ingest it a little bit more, and I'd like to thank you for your time and effort.
Thank you, members of the board.
Me? Go ahead, come up. Yeah.
So you said that there's 15...
Short and sweet.
Okay, so you have 15 days to make a decision on whether... Oh, sorry, Ryan Cox, 11 Hamrick Road. I was told that you guys have a 15-day grace period to make a decision, whether it's approved, denied, or continued.
What it is we are in safe harbor. So we have 15 days from today, if we so desire, to invoke safe harbor. If we invoke safe harbor, that means this is not heard at all. So it's not continued, it's just not heard. 15 days we have.
So after 15 days, if you claim safe harbor, it's off the table for another 6 months.
The table for, I don't know how long.
Okay, I was just because you said the next meeting they would have the chance to speak, so I was kind of confused about that. That's all I wanted.
I like to confuse you.
I know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now it is the application of the residences at Mills 58. And do we have, we still don't have a legal notice here either. But Carla does. And we will wait for our secretary to read the legal notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals of the City of Peabody will hold a public hearing on Monday, May 16th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application of the residences at Mills 58 LLC for a Chapter 40B comprehensive permit as it applies to the premise known as 58 Pulaski Street, Peabody, Massachusetts, map number 053, lot 047. Petitioner seeks to construct 51 rental units. The property is located in an IL zoning district. The application and plans are available to the public and can be viewed by contacting Carla McGrath at carla.mcgrath@peabody-mass.gov or by contacting by phone 978-538-5792 in advance and prior to the public hearing. The agenda for this meeting is posted on the City of Peabody website.
Okay, before we begin, I'd also like a motion to accept the following correspondences. 42622, Mr. Tallarico's memo from the Building Department. 42822, Ms. Bernson's memo of Community Development. 42922, Mr. Langley's memo, Department of Public Works. 42922, Ms. Del Nigro's memo of the Conservation Commission. May I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept the correspondence.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, applicant may now present. And I believe that to be Attorney Panos, if I'm not mistaken.
Good evening. Jason Panos, practicing law at 246 Andover Street. If you could just indulge us for a moment, we're getting the computer set up for the PowerPoint.
I'll indulge you for a moment.
Thank you. So again, I'm Jason Panos, practicing law at 246 Andover Street, Peabody, Massachusetts. I represent the applicant under this comprehensive permit application. The residence is at Mills 58 LLC and the property owner Mills 58 LLC. The matter before this board is an application for a comprehensive permit and supporting regulations for a rental apartment dwelling development comprised of 51 units at 58 Pulaski Street, which is located in the city's light industrial zoning district and the Mill Overlay District. The application was filed on the city clerk, with the city clerk rather, on April 20th of this year, when submission compliant with the city's comprehensive permit rules and regulations was completed. The proposed development under the application has the support of the city of Peabody. This is a formal, friendly 40B, having the support of the mayor of Peabody, who signed that letter of support submitted to the Department of Housing and Community Development, who in turn gave us a project eligibility letter, which is part of your package that was submitted to the board. That letter is dated March 16th, 2022, and is in Appendix A of your application books. By way of introduction, each member of this project team has significant experience with the management, development, and maintenance of multifamily housing developments. Edward Greeley is here with me tonight. He is the manager of the applicant LLC, and he, through New England Cabinet and Construction LLC, is the developer consultant who will see the development through to completion. Among other developments throughout the city for which he is responsible are the currently existing Mills 58, which I think many of you have enjoyed, resulting in commercial, retail, office, and restaurant uses there, along with the redevelopment ongoing of 2, 12, and 16 Washington Street, the old Betancourt Furniture Building. Tony Capichetti is here with me from Hayes Engineering. He's the project manager and will discuss the technical aspects of the application, including the project plan, stormwater management, conservation, and traffic. Eric Jourday of Sea Glass Architects is the project architect and will discuss the development design elements and will work with the project team to bring the development to completion. Scott Thornton of Vanessa & Associates, who is not here with us tonight, prepared the traffic impact assessment, which is part of your application. Before I give you an overview, I do want to let you know that Mr. Greeley has engaged the residential and industrial abutters throughout really the last couple of years as this property has taken its current form as a commercial center with that retail and those restaurant uses, those office uses. Most recently on May 12th, last week, where he had a very positive response from the residential abutters. PMLP, Peabody Municipal Light Plant, is also an industrial abutter, and they had some concerns about parking, which were addressed and will result in a slightly revised plan that we will submit to you in the coming days that have addressed their concerns. As I indicated, the project eligibility letter was issued from the Department of Housing and Community Development, and basically has established many of the jurisdictional regulatory requirements, indicating ultimately that the development and the site are eligible for the proposed 51 apartments. The Zoning Board of Appeals as you know, possesses the authority to act for all local boards, which is broadly defined. And we will go through, as you indicated, having accepted correspondence into the record, we will go through an exhaustive peer review process. That process is underway, but we have not yet signed contracts with the peer review. We have not, peer reviewer consultants, we've not been presented with them yet, but I had an extensive conversation with Mr. Langley before he went away, and we believe that that will be underway shortly. A brief description of the development. The site consists of one parcel of land, 58 Pulaski Street, containing about a little over 2 acres, with access and frontage along Pulaski.
So I don't mean to interrupt, but we want to hear about your project.
Yep.
Yeah, we want the meat right now of your project.
So the development of the residential units is proposed in Building A. The existing commercial uses, of course, are contained in Building B and C. The residences at Mills 58 consists of an existing single mill building of 5 stories, where we propose the residence to be located exclusively in that building. There will be no commercial uses proposed in that building.
Not to interrupt again, so people on this board that aren't as familiar as some of us, we're looking at Building A. Building A is
Yes.
your component of what you're talking about right now.
That's exactly right.
Good.
13 of the apartment units proposed are designated as affordable, and 38 units are proposed designated at market rate. There will be a total of 100 parking spaces, with 4 accessible parking spaces provided to support the residential component before you tonight. Sustainable design strategies include the integration of proposed exterior finishes, natural products, masonry and glass, all heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipment and appliances for each unit will carry Energy Star certifications, and the development will seek certification as an Energy Star building designation. As I indicated, traffic impacts are summarized in this presentation, but will be further explained as the process unfolds. This is proposed as a component of a full mixed-use development. Obviously, the existing commercial components exist today, and this evolutionary design, and here's the breakdown of the development. This evolutionary design will now include this residential component. Where are we? Oh, all right. I'm sorry? Yeah, why don't we go right into site design? So if it pleases the chair, I'd like to invite Tony Capichetti to talk about the engineering aspects of the development, and then following him would be Eric Jourdain to talk about design.
Thank you. For the record, Tony Capichetti with Hayes Engineering. Oh, that would be great. It's, I don't know how we got wrapped up in here. It's, technology makes everything better. Tony Capichetti with Hayes Engineering, 603 Salem Street, Wakefield, Mass. Civil engineer for the project. As Jason was saying, the site design is contained for the residential uses in Building A. If you're familiar with the campus, buildings B and C do have a lot of residential, personal service uses, among other things. And what we tried to do was integrate this residential development into the existing campus that we hope will supplement those uses that are there. But some of the things that we looked at, first and foremost, was we're separating where number 1 is shown down here. We have an access easement to the rear of the building. It currently exists, but we will be redoing that, adding some curbing and beautifying it. But that'll be a separate residential access point for the building A use. And then we're also going to put a do not enter here. So the residential parking is about 80% contained in here. These will be the assigned spaces, and it'll allow the residents to have a separate access and not interfere with the current commercial space out front. The next thing we did was, because we're accessing from this point, and you'll see with the architecture, is we added an enhanced central entrance with lobby to the rear, delivery area, mailroom, that sort of thing, to really kind of make the back of the building the front in this case, to kind of separate the commercial uses from the residential uses again. In laying out the parking in this area here, which is within the riverfront area, which is along the Waters River, a tidal river, one of Peabody's, I guess, only oceanfront properties. We're going to be removing some of the pavement and adding some additional green space to kind of enhance the function in that area. Overall, we have a net reduction on this entire project in impervious surfaces, and we've added substantial landscaping. The commercial vehicle entrance, if anyone's been out there now, some of the tractor trailers do have difficulty maneuvering without hitting the curbs. We're going to widen those the curb entrances, provide vertical granite curbing to provide a more durable edge, as well as widen the entrance to make a boulevard style. We have it's either stamped concrete or possible cobblestone boulevard going down the center, raised crosswalk to connect the commercial parking spaces, and then we've given priority for these commercial uses in B and C, priority parking in this area up front. So the commercial uses that are there will continue to benefit from that upfront parking, as well as some pedestrian connectivity as we build out the rest of the parking for the site. This again is the comprehensive parking plan. The residential parking, we have the dedicated parking to the rear and west of the building. Visitor parking, again, for the residential uses shown as A, a little bit further away from the commercial spaces that we talked about. The building B and C spaces will be in front of building B and C, as well as around building D, which is this L-shaped building. And then the spaces for building D will be around the back section of building D and along the right-of-way here. We have no intention to disrupt any of the existing curb cuts for the commercial uses. We had some, and that's going to be one of the plan revisions. We had a couple of spaces that were blocking some of the driveway entrances that we went back out, re-coordinated. So we have a total of 321 parking spaces provided. Doing the zoning breakdown, and I know this is difficult to read, but if we did the by right or the zoning requirement for residential spaces plus all the commercial uses that are existing and kind of contemplated between all four buildings, we'd need 302 spaces, and I believe we have 321 for the campus currently. The parking for the residential use, 100 dedicated spaces, which is just a hair over 1 per bedroom and just a hair under 2 per unit at 51 units. We had a traffic study performed in April. Vanessa Associates did that. We looked at both of the existing site drives, the commercial entrance, as I'm calling it, and then the residential entrance, which also exists. And then we consulted with DPS. Will Pollitt's there recommended the study of Pulaski at Dobbs Road, which is the last study point for this project. The 51 units will generate approximately 232 vehicle trips a day. However, only 19 or 20, depending, AM or peak hour trips will occur from this development, which is a pretty minor increase for Pulaski Street. The survey also found out that the intersection crash rates for those reported crashes were below the Mass DOT District 4 average, which is a good thing. And then all the levels of services, this project does not adversely affect them in the build condition. There is, in the no build 2029 condition, there are some decreases in level of service just from the general background growth. However, this project doesn't exacerbate them. And again, all the intersections are operating above level of service F, which would be a failure. So they're all within passing grades. Again, just generally more on the site, we have a landscape courtyard in between the buildings, some additional landscape out front. We've tried to add some connectivity with the walkway that goes around the front of the building, some additional walkways that go to the other uses, long term. We're hoping that this additional growth will bring in some more commercial uses, and some of the existing uses in Building A will be moving over to Building D, some of the health clubs. So it's really a large campus-type project, and some of those campus changes will be coming to you under a separate application. But we figured with the context of this project, it'll help the board make an informed decision by knowing what the overall plans are. I'm going to have Eric Jardet from Seaglass come up and discuss the project architecture. I think you'll see that he's done a great job with this reuse of the existing building.
I'm Eric Jardet with Seaglass Architects. Very excited to be working on this project. Eric Jardet, Seaglass Architects. I first met Ed about 8 months ago, and I really enjoyed his enthusiasm about the property. He asked me to design residential units here, 58 mills, and we tried to make the building in a way that would be sustainable in terms of energy efficiency. We're using a series of photovoltaic solar panels. We'll have on 5 sunny days 100 kilowatts of power, and we're also having all the rooftop condensing units on the roof so no one sees that. A portion, about 2,400 square feet towards the water's edge that you can see cranes, river, and the ocean. Let's see here. We'll have access to, the elevator will go to the penthouse, so there'll be an accessible route all the way from the ground to the upper level. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Fenway Park, the new gardens that are on the rooftop. Very similar square footage here, and they can yield up to 6,000 pounds of food in a year, which is enormous. So friends of mine in the industry have told me that in urban areas, actually food grows quite well because it creates a microclimate. So that's what we'll have up here in the roof, plus enormous amount of views of the ocean and have the connectivity to the water. The building will be all LED lighting. There will be heat pumps, systems. Each unit will have individually controlled units, separately zoned to maximize efficiency. The base building will run on heat from the solar panels as well, to minimize the footprint. You can see we added an entranceway to the back of the building, which will be the front, to give a visual node to let people know that they are supposed to enter here. And we're trying to create an open courtyard that can allow yoga or a flexible space similar. I don't know if you've been to the marketplace, but a similar concept of what they're doing there with open space. It could be a really flex space, but a softened approach. Okay, thank you. A softer approach to the outside via bituminous paving between the two buildings currently. We see the opportunity for this building to be, in a way, I've been to Troy, New York, also a mill town that's been converting their buildings, towns that have been lost in a time when Theodore Roosevelt was president, when this building was built, to what do we do now with electric cars, Teslas, modern technology? How can we adapt and reuse these buildings and be very healthy in the way we live and understand our connection to the environment, even if we're in a brick building that we are trying to encourage people to take the stairs instead of the elevator. But if you have to take the elevator, go ahead and take the elevator. But once you get to the top, you'll be into a beautiful rooftop garden that the kids, I believe we can teach the kids a lot about how much food can be produced in 2,400 square feet. Fenway Park is amazing in the way they produce in such a small footprint. So there will be a gate separating the pedestrian access to the residents to the mechanical area, so that the two can live symbiotic and not worry about anybody getting hurt. So you could see that that's the penthouse that's already existing. So you would come right up either the stair or the new elevator that will go all the way to the rooftop, creating accessibility. We're creating a wood plank, and then we're coordinating the trellis work with the existing column structure of the building. So that's all I have. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you don't want to present the elevations?
Okay. I can do the Okay, so this is an elevation of the alley looking. You can see the new entrance. Let's see if I could pan and zoom here. Yep. Oh, look at that, Mac. So you can see we're going to create a visual node from the side entrance. This will be the lobby, and this would be a gym. So there'd be a connectivity to the open space here. And with today's society, what do we have? We have brown packages arriving every day. So this is also going to serve as a packaging room for the mail to come. So trying to think about that. So we're going to be careful with the front elevation, not altering anything, but except for the walkways, we'll have private patios from the existing deck, and we'll try to make a connection between the two buildings to a side entrance to the property, as well as an overlook to that courtyard. There's a little gateway opportunity between the two buildings, A and I believe it's B, A and B. And this is an elevation of the rear elevation. So we're trying to use some industrial metals and black, introducing black, trying to foil the existing building. You can see that more clearly in the rendering. Here's a plan so you could see from this region of the world right here to this will be all mechanical, photovoltaic, and the HVAC's condensers will all be in the middle, very organized, but then there's a gate, and so it keeps all this green area separated and the access to the residents separate from this element. But there's also a stair to service this to this level as well. And then you can see there's the existing staircase, and then the elevator will come into a lobby that will go into a boardwalk that's all accessible to a trellis structure. And you could see Crane River and really get connectivity to the water right here. It's beautiful. Oops. So this represents some of the plans. So the plans are spacious. We'll have this is a 3-bedroom unit with a kitchen, dining, has an open floor plan. The second 2 bedrooms, they call this a split, with a living room in the middle and a galley kitchen and a bathroom. And so each unit will have a very open floor plan, which I think will make the spaces feel bigger. And here we have a 1-bedroom unit, so you come into a large space with a living room function here. I'm losing it. And then we have a separate bedroom here with a bathroom here. And the columns are quite interesting. As you go from every floor of the building, as you have mill buildings, the columns get thicker and thicker. So at the base of this building, the columns are 2 foot, and at the top, they're about a foot. They taper. It's pretty interesting. That's it.
For the record, by the way, Carla, C Glass Architects is at 246 Andover Street as well. Excellent. So the next steps in wrapping up our presentation. We're waiting for peer review, and hopefully that'll unfold in the next couple of weeks. And we anticipate, Weston Sampson, Horsley Witten, Ty and Bond, and World Tech for traffic. As Tony indicated, the implementation of the comprehensive parking plan for the entire campus, including buildings A, B, C, and that building across the street, will require a separate variance application, which we will file within the next couple of weeks before the Zoning Board of Appeals, because as a result of this development proposal, we're taking away with the residential some of that commercial parking and moving it to that adjacent parcel across the street, which is where Building D is located. And we also are touching wetlands. We're actually taking up some pavement within a resource area, which will require the filing of a notice of intent. We're making things less impactful, but in doing so, we are creating a disturbance, and the Conservation Commission will have to hear a filing subject to the Wetlands Protection Act only, not the local wetlands ordinance, for the comprehensive development aspect of the project. We are in the middle of a process with the Conservation Commission to accommodate the parking behind Building D, and that is also not only is that subject to the Wetlands Protection Act, but it is local jurisdiction. It's only local jurisdiction. Oh, because it's isolated. So we anticipate that will wrap up well before you guys conclude here. So with that, we're happy to entertain any questions from the board on this preliminary presentation.
No questions tonight. A couple of comments. So you gave us a lot of information and a lot of things visual. I would like to see if in the month of June, we don't have to decide right now, if we could all make a site visit with Ms. Daigle and Mr. Greeley and you if you want.
Yeah.
But at least as many of us as possible, we can figure that out, but I think that would be very important.
Prior to June 6th?
Maybe not, whatever,
Okay.
But I think it's important for us to make a site visit.
Happy to accommodate that.
So now you already heard, to go to Bob Langley for your peer review.
Yes.
Also for the record, from June 6th on, all abutters can talk, ask questions, because I'm sure there will be many. And June 6th, any city officials and abutters will be able to speak. So June 6th, July 18th, August 15th. Let's see what kind of peer review, third-party review we can get going. And then definitely in the month of June, we would make a site visit. We'll see what works for all of us, and then we'll get in touch with somebody.
And if I can recommend, regardless of the status of the peer review by June 6th, I think what I might recommend is that we do a full presentation on June 6th solely with regard to traffic and parking. Because I think that I'd recommend nipping that right in the butt, because I think that's the thing that perhaps we're most not interested in. We're interested in the whole package.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
But it's a little, it's not complex, but because of that commercial element, I think it deserves some attention.
You said traffic and parking?
Traffic and parking, I think they go hand in hand.
On June 6th?
On June 6th. And then certainly by your July hearing, we would anticipate the peer review on traffic and parking to come in, and then we can have a full-fledged, hopefully, discussion to conclude that item. And then the other items, stormwater management, this is an existing building. So there are items that are not going to be delved into like some other ground-up developments we worked together on.
Right. Okay. So I'm sure I'm sure we have questions. I know I have some, but we're not going. We're going to hold off. This was presentation and scheduling, and this is great. So I think at this point in time, we will just wait to see you back June 6th. I don't think we'll make a site visit before June 6th, but if we do, we'll get in touch with you, and you can get, or, I mean, I'm there all the time, so.
You coordinate it through Carla?
Of course I will.
Yeah, awesome.
In fact, I'd like Carla to be there.
Yeah.
Also. Okay, so are we all set with this? Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, through the chair. Just so there's no misunderstanding, and I think there was a little bit of a misunderstanding in the past, let's leave it at that, that I certainly appreciate peer review, and I certainly appreciate everything that goes on during peer review. But just so you know that I expect, even though it's not brought up at peer review, any concerns that are brought up by the board, by the neighbors, by anybody, that they're open game. I don't want to hear, oh, we're not going to discuss that because it's not part of peer review. So we, as long as we have that understanding that everything is going to come out, everything's going to be discussed, no matter whether it comes from a neighbor or a board. And we're not just going to say, all right, peer review is over, we're done, we're going to make a decision. I think there might have been a misunderstanding on that in the past. And with that being said, I know it's going to take a lot of work, because I'm very familiar with a lot of projects that are going on down on Pulaski Street. And as long as it's a friendly 40B, but I don't know how friendly it's going to be to everybody. So I think we need to be ready to discuss a lot of issues that are going to come up. So I certainly appreciate your willingness to do that. Thank you.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, I didn't want to suggest that we were in any way shortchanging the review process. It's just by the nature of this development, it's not ground up, it's an existing building. There are going to be items that aren't going to invite the same level of scrutiny that a fresh ground up redevelopment where we're starting from scratch would invite. That's all I was suggesting.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll see you June 6th or before for a site visit. All set? Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That being said, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. That's a wrap. Thank you very much, everybody.